Hello everyone and welcome back to the Film Appreciation Podcast. I am your host Nick, and as always I am joined by my co-hosts Isaac and Marlon.
Good morning.
Back for another fucking episode.
Episode 7 now, hey?
Yeah.
How good.
We were just talking about how, time's flied so quickly, 7 episodes already.
Yeah. This one's
crazy.
special, isn't it, Nick?
It is a special one. I guess we'll get right into that.
Yep.
So today's episode, we're very excited, is the first sponsored episode of our podcast. Today's episode's been sponsored by local Brisbane filmmaker E.C. Lewin, who has generously enabled us to buy new microphones.
Yeah, as you can see, so hopefully the audio is better today.
Yes. This for many reasons, this is a great thing because, of course, we want to grow our channel, and Elaine, who is E.C. Lewin, by the way.
Yes.
The E is for Elaine. Is, a supporter of us, and we really appreciate that. And, we want to grow our channel, make it better for all of you watching, and so it's great that we've been able to upgrade our equipment, and we're going to hopefully continue to do so.
Of course.
But as part of that sponsorship thing, of course, there's got to be some give and take, of course. And as part of the agreement, Elaine has asked us to review their new film.
Yeah.
And They Lived.
An anthology of love stories.
That's right. When I said, because I was going to say film, but then I was like, well, it's just a lot of short films, but technically it's like a package. So it is a film.
Yeah.
Yes, it's an anthology, which for those who don't know means it's a bunch of just short stories in a much bigger thing. So, that was a really exciting thing. I was really interested to do this because we have had a history with Elaine before this film.
Yep. Because
they invited us to their previous screening of Slow Humidity.
Yes.
And that's another important thing, by the way. Important disclosure is that Elaine is really cool, and they're fine with us giving our honest opinion about their film. It doesn't really matter if we liked it or didn't like it. And for context, yes, the previous thing that we saw was Slow Humidity, and we all thought it was shit. I'm sorry, but it was kind
we
of shit.
briefly discussed it on a previous podcast.
We were quite critical of it, so it's nice to see at least that.
I don't want to beat around the bush because Elaine knows that we didn't really like it, or at least Isaac and I didn't really like it. But I was really interested to see And They Lived because the sort of promo shit was different. It seemed very different to Slow Humidity, and so I'm interested to get into it.
And
so
I will say this before we review the movie itself, but something I can see with Elaine is there's so much skill and talent. So I think that's sort of one of the things that was disappointing in Slow Humidity because obviously I had seen actually Blood of Being as well, and I really liked Blood of Being. So sort of I was going into the Slow Humidity really expecting something to sort of enjoy, but anyway, we'll get into
with And They Lived. So the two most, I guess, recent previous works of Elaine's have been documentaries. So it is nice to go back to some sort of story here. I guess, fictional story.
Thematic thing connecting all of them at least.
Yeah. And obviously that main theme is love.
Yeah.
And it starts off with And. That's the first short film.
but that was
It's 1 minute.
Very
it was
short,
super quick.
Yeah.
1 minute. And the only thing I really noticed from that is just the editing is crazy good. The fast cuts straight away, creating a sort of psychedelic horror.
It sets the tone of what's to come.
Yeah, well, it's very much Elaine's style, I think, because it's seen in previous documentaries as well. So,
I think it's important to note, and like I said, Isaac and I and Marlon didn't really either, but not as much. We didn't really like Slow Humidity.
Yep.
And I've only seen this one and Slow Humidity.
Right.
But from what I've seen, Elaine does have a very clear style.
Exactly.
And I really respect that. And I think that, though, my biggest critique with Slow Humidity was that this sort of insanely art house sort of style of filmmaking doesn't work for a documentary.
Yeah.
Because it's a documentary. The point, there's no sort of artsy fartsy shit when it comes to documentaries. You're telling a real thing
Yes.
It's supposed to be informative, not a piece of art. Like that's why you have fiction and non-fiction.
You can have sort of the artistic take on it, but at the end of the day, it is still a documentary. So, and this is one of my critiques of that movie was that I came out of it having no fucking idea what was supposed to be.
Well, the point shouldn't be blurred, especially in a documentary.
Yeah. But then, and that it just links back to this though, is that when you're telling, fictional love stories and shit, if it gets artsy, then that's fine.
And it makes complete sense with love. Yes, something that is historically and, of course, by its very nature, hard to define.
There's not one way about it.
Yeah, it's extremely complicated.
Well, the first thing I want to talk about as well is the characters without faces or heads. That was something I spent a fair bit of time trying to work out. And obviously in End, there's the scene where one of the characters blows off the other character's head with a finger gun.
That's right.
And then the very next scene is head wrapped in, sort of like a mummy-ish, I guess, appearance. Mm-hmm. And that's my phone going off. So.
Nice.
Sorry about that. That was my mum. Anyway, and there's
she wants to get her opinion in on
And They Lived, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, so I was trying to figure out what do these faceless characters actually mean?
Yeah.
Because it happens more than once in the film. Do you guys have any opinions on that?
No.
Yeah.
And because it's going to be hard because I guess we're going to go through it sort of chronologically.
Yeah, that's how I've got it set out.
So, my enjoyment of this just went up and down.
Okay, yeah.
Because look, just sort of naturally, I really like art. I like art house films, but I like when the art house is it's the icing on the cake, and it's not the cake.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of times, especially the sort of the And They Lived parts of this anthology, the like And They and Lived, those three separate shorts, where I felt like it was just the artsy-fartsy stuff.
Okay.
And it was so sort of over the top and, similar to Slow Humidity, just sort of clouded any sort of resonance or meaning that I could have got out of it.
Yeah.
And so because I immediately sort of checked out, because I just am not part of that. Like I'm not particularly interested in the sort of insane art house stuff that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like there has to be something tangible there. And I don't think there was in those three. So I really have sort of no opinion on it. And that's the problem is because as I was saying, like my opinion of this anthology went up and down because the longer shorts was when I was more like interested.
So Double Fantasy, Hitch and the Giddy Up, and,
that's right. And
Two Virgins Ramping with Redness.
That's right.
Two of which are partially named after John Lennon albums and Yoko Ono.
I didn't know that.
I didn't actually realise that.
No. Well, that's one thing. Got to immediately give Elaine the credits here. Some fantastic needle drops. I'm all for the music and the soundtrack in this movie.
Yeah. I think a lot of it fits in really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
there was a great. I think it was Hitch and the Giddy Up was the one that had the best music for me.
Hitch and the Giddy Up was actually really enjoyable.
It starts off with Ghost Riders in the Sky by Johnny Cash, which is a fantastic song.
Yeah.
And at a point, it also had the song from Pink Flamingos, which I'm not remembering.
Well, yeah.
But, I mean, that movie's really fucked up.
Well, what's also interesting, I know we're no longer in chronological order here, but Hitch and the Giddy Up is really interesting because it's kind of documentary-like in the sense that, whereas the rest of it is obviously very fictional.
Narrative.
Yeah, whereas you come into this and they're sort of interviewing people.
It's completely improvised.
Yeah.
It's all just talking about, the Phantom Menace and...
Yeah, and I think that goes back to, obviously the film is about love. What is it trying to say about love? To me, it's sort of trying to find these essences of what love is.
Okay.
And so, for example, like you have love as in the sexual romantic relationship. You have love of just cinema, of just things in general. And then you also have like what's the one where they're like speaking gibberish? They. In that they have they have this sort of like this hyper reality of love where it's like doesn't really exist. Love isn't like that. Like in that film, it's very like idealize, and there's like this perfect relationship where they're speaking gibberish but they understand each other perfectly.
Yeah.
And then you have them like holding hands and they're like staring out the window or whatever, and people coming through and like shit, and they don't care. Yeah. They're like just this perfect relationship.
Exactly.
Which obviously shows like how there's like this idealized view of love. But like, yeah, I think at its basis, the movie's just trying to like investigate what love is.
Okay. And so going off your interpretation there, then as they slowly turn into English, what does that mean then? Does that mean, you know, that the sort of love isn't perfect?
Yeah, I think that you can make that argument.
Because
it slowly decays.
Yeah, the language is slowly breaking apart into something else.
Well, it's interesting.
Or is it how love matures? Because I think that's another theme, particularly in double fantasy. There's obviously the cut to 4 years later, and how that relationship is matured. And I think that might be one of the main themes, is the love maturity. And obviously, so I listened to 4ZZZ last night, and Elaine was on that talking about And They Lived, which is where I
tried to listen to that, and my like link was fucked up.
I just went to search it up online.
Couldn't watch it.
But anyway, so Elaine was speaking about how in the last film, Two Virgins Ramping with Redness, it is released on the 1 year of their relationship with their partner Zoe. And obviously, so 1 year, there's a lot of space for maturity in that. So I feel like that, to me at least, is one of the main themes, is the maturity of love, or the changing landscape of love, which is enjoyable to explore, because it's, you know, something we can all relate to in one way or another.
Yeah, especially talking about Star Wars. That was when I was the most emotionally invested. It's like, that's me.
I don't know. There is, like, I can see, I suppose, the one thing I don't like about this, or one of the main things, is that there is just sort of, I feel like it could have done without some of the short films, in all honesty.
Which ones would you not have in there though?
Ringer. The second one. I feel like it would have been so much better off if you had the And They Lived trilogy as one 30-minute short film, split up into the 3 parts, and then each of the others get their own individual release. It gives them more merit, etc. They can be watched, I guess.
Yeah, I have no idea how to interpret Ringer.
So is Ringer...
Ringer's the second one. It's the one where it's just...
We can't talk?
Fast...
No, Ringer's the one where it's just like...
Is that they?
It's the super edited...
Yeah, right.
There's like a
mummy sort of...
corpse sort of...
Well, yeah.
I don't know.
See, that reminded me very much of Eraserhead.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I see what you...
Just a grotesque sort of humanoid-ish character.
I mean, it looks really interesting. That's what's so amazing.
Yeah.
Like, this is an insane edit. Like,
it's really good. It's enjoyable.
It's just really hard to pinpoint. I guess maybe that makes it interesting as well, as it is something you have to work for to figure out what it means.
Yeah, and
if it does mean something.
On the radio last night, Elaine was speaking about how a lot of that of Ringer is actually painted.
Oh yeah.
Which is very impressive. All the technicalities and, you know, the technical aspects of all these films are great. That's undeniable. As you said at the very start, there is so much skill here. But there's, in examples such as Ringer, where there's no real story to follow, I do struggle. With engagement, with interest.
I think, it's a bit like if 2001: A Space Odyssey had the, obviously when he goes through like space, whatever, at the end. Yeah. If it had that without any reason for having, like, you didn't work for it. Yeah. You didn't sit through the whole movie. Now you're there. It's just that's how it started. You'd be like, why?
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think the way art house, and I keep saying, like, you got to have it, the sort of artsy stuff is the icing on the cake. And like, Eraserhead's one of my favorite movies. I love Eraserhead. But that, if you want, you can watch that and have you don't have to think about it. You could just see it as, it's a guy and he lives in a weird world and he has a weird child who he kills.
You can make sense of it very easily.
Yeah, like you can just watch it and go, that's the film, and just walk out and be like, ugh. Like, what was the one that we just talked about it a couple episodes ago, and it was a film where we were like, if you didn't... Enemy. Yeah. Enemy is a perfect example. You can watch Enemy and be like, oh yeah, it's just some sort of like thriller movie.
Yeah, there's a clear meaning, and then there's all the subtle ones.
This is something I like in my review I'll say as well, is like, The movie, if you're like coming at it from a purely modern perspective, so just from the relationship of content and form, it's impossible to come to this movie with any understanding.
Well, exactly.
Because it just doesn't really work. Whereas if you come in and you're using a postmodern lens, I think it makes a lot more sense because you come in with the context of the world as well. So who's making it, your own perspectives, and then obviously like the context of the time. So I think that is what makes this movie like intelligible. Otherwise, you're just coming into it and you're like, wow, this looks really great.
Looks
it's really interesting.
Great.
Where's the content? The content comes informed when you take a step back.
Okay, and look at it from an outside perspective.
That's what I think at least.
Right.
I mean, I can't like really say if that is going to work 100% for everything,
and for everyone.
I mean, I'm just trying to think like.
But I just can't see any other way of coming and approaching this film.
So I was just thinking about we've said end because they all kind of blended into my head. End was the one where it starts with the man shooting the other man.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he's wrapped in.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I guess you could immediately think that, you know, everyone thinks of love as a good thing. But sometimes love can be a very damaging thing, or a very
takes
toxic,
your identity.
bad thing.
Yeah,
you know, it consumes you type thing. And I think that's interesting that that's how it starts.
Okay,
it gives it that immediately. I think that's an interesting idea, is to have that as the first thing. Yeah, because you're going in like, because the start of it is very sort of Godard, colourful, popular type
definitely,
thing.
Yeah,
you know, you're like, oh wow, this is going to be like really fun, and then it starts off with like, someone getting shot in the face, and I was just like, oh, okay, fuck. Well, this is some different take on love, I guess.
And another thing I struggle to see, at least with Lived, is the continuity of that trilogy itself.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Like, I really, really liked Lived. It had the analog sort of fuzzy lines and stuff. I really liked it.
I could see the screen type.
Yeah, and it was beautiful colouring with like the orange and blue colour palette, right? And I saw films I've seen in there, Blade Runner and Space Odyssey. I really liked it, but I couldn't see how it related to End and They at all.
Agreed, yeah.
And
I think in a lot of these, I think perhaps Elaine's sort of biggest flaw as a filmmaker is that they sometimes, or you know, more often, will choose style over substance, which I just think is just a mistake. Unless you're doing in a particular genre where people aren't looking for substance. But if you're looking to try and make an anthology about love, a universal and, you know, highly important thing, you know, if you're gonna just sort of make something really artsy and has no meaning, it's like, well, what was the point of me watching that?
Yeah, well, I think
because I'm going in I'm expecting some stuff.
Yeah.
Because I want to be feeling something, you know.
Yeah.
If this was just called like, I don't know, if it was just called Double Fantasy or something, and you're going in thinking this is just going to be whack as hell, and then it is, then I'd be fine with that. I'd be like, cool, it looked cool, fine. But you know, I'm going in thinking love stories, and then you have. Yeah, Lived. I really didn't like Lived because it was just like I had gotten a.
You didn't like Lived?
No.
The analog.
With all the hazy screen.
You didn't like that? Wow, I thought it was gorgeous.
It's like I loved it. You know, it's like I got a fork and scratched my DVD and then put my DVD into the player and it was all just fucked up.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, you know, how am I supposed to connect with this when my picture looks fucked up?
Yeah. So this is what I'll say. I think, at least how I view these films is that the style becomes the content rather than the other way around. So I think like the idea with these kind of films is they're supposed to connect emotionally, which for me is a flaw of this movie because I think I struggle to connect emotionally. Like I have to come into this movie not from an emotional standpoint. I'm coming in from a more like intellectual, trying to find out, analytical perspective.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the way I see this film is that it's trying to just connect purely emotionally.
Yeah.
And I think what happens though is because there's nothing really tangible necessarily to just immediately grab onto. It's very like you have to work to try and grab hold of something. It is a hard time to become emotional about anything.
Yeah, as you said, especially when you're working for it.
So for me, there's nothing wrong necessarily in having your content be the style. That can work. The problem is when it's impossible to grab hold of that content.
Yeah, well,
without using the intellectual standpoint, which then can't become is even more difficult to become emotional about.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. Is like if you had a, Infinity Pool, I think is a great example. I think Infinity Pool is a great horror movie, and there isn't actually that much of a story there, especially in the second half. It's just like nothing really. It is just a lot of style and crazy stuff's happening, and there were times in that where I actually found I was thinking this is similar to Elaine's stuff.
Yeah, all the psychedelic
trips, and you can't really tell what's happening. You kind of maybe sort of can tell what's happening, but for that movie, it makes sense because it's a horror movie.
Yeah,
like, I feel like if Elaine wanted to make a horror movie with the same style, I think it would be fantastic.
Well, yeah. For example, in
but
Infinity
it's a love thing.
But in Infinity Pool, that sort of editing works to unsettle the audience. Here, I don't think
sort of counterintuitive.
There are times I think,
yes, agree.
like for example, those sort of more abstract, like really weird ones. I think that is the goal to unsettle the audience.
With the paper mache creature and stuff.
But like, I don't know. In other ones, I feel like I don't know. I don't know. It's something I think you have to think about. But that's the problem, when the goal of the movie is that you are supposed to connect emotionally and not necessarily think. Yeah. And you actually have to think to understand it.
Yeah.
I think it's
a major flaw.
Don't get me wrong.
But at the end of the day, I still really enjoyed the majority of it, which is what's interesting about it.
Well, don't get me wrong. You could also perhaps not be trying to go into this on an emotional standpoint, but trying to think about perhaps what love is indicative of or representative of.
Yeah.
But there are straight up some of these shorts that are they don't make any sense. And they're not tangible in any way. And I can't, even if I was looking at it from what's the meaning of this? I still can't do that because I'm going, I can't derive meaning from this,
I think you'll have to, at a certain level, instead of analysing like, this is what happens, you go, this is the colour that was used, this is what that means.
Yeah.
Which I think immediately becomes a lot less of a strong interpretation.
Sure.
Because it's so up to whoever the fuck is, Like for example, like, obviously this is not the case always, but the author has their intention for the film. Yeah. And so generally anything that's reasonably close to that is going to most likely be the most correct interpretation.
Yeah.
So like Elaine might have used the color red for this reason, but everyone watching the film is like, oh no, it's probably like this.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like that becomes really hard to then develop a strong interpretation that, I don't know, that people will agree on. If it's just so abstract.
I do want to slightly move on to, because there was stuff about this that I liked in certain shorts that I thought were really good, and I do want to talk about mainly Double Fantasy.
Double Fantasy is great. I really enjoyed I think Double Fantasy is the sort of thing that like, if release that.
Well, that was my point earlier.
That is like an amazing short.
Well, that was my point earlier. I think some of these on their own deserve to be released, like individually, and they live to be released as a whole. I get that, at least from Elaine's perspective, this is a thematically, I guess
they're linked thematically.
Yeah, thematically. But yeah, things like Double Fantasy needs to be released.
That was, I don't think the style overcame the substance at all.
No, yeah, exactly.
That was probably the only short actually where I felt it.
I
was watching it and I actually went, oh.
You are engaged emotionally.
Damn. I was like, oh, okay.
Like when she slumps against the wall.
It's more
cooking the...
So sort of, Isaac and I have been talking about it recently, and I don't think you've seen it yet, Marlon, but, and I know that it's an influence on Double Fantasy, which is Legette, Legette,
whatever the fucking French.
By Chris Marker, which is
old.
Yeah, it's in the 60s.
It's a French new wave.
Very new wave, but it's a short film, so it's like... it's
about half an hour.
But it's the same thing, so it's just like a sort of a slideshow.
Okay, yeah.
With the, I guess,
and it's commentary. Voiceover kind of explaining the story, and it's super powerful. And what they do in a lot of sort of parts of the film, which is exactly what happens in Double Fantasy, is just like you see images and then occasionally there might be a sound effect.
Okay.
And then that sound effect becomes really powerful. Like, I think my favorite part of all of the Double Fantasy thing was when she was cooking and you had the eggs.
Yes, and it was
I thought that was just so good.
It was great.
I thought it was so good and so like well realized. I was like, that's
I think
cool.
what also made it interesting was that there were sort of scenes within it that were like motion. They were moving.
Which
I think
totally.
I think that worked really well. Like it's a good spin on the whatever, how do you say, legeti.
Well,
to put your own like way of making a movie that way.
Well, it was also very Persona, Ingmar Bergman. Just like majorly, especially the ending, like that last shot.
Oh, the ending.
The two of them.
The zoom,
Very
great.
Persona.
That is a
The
great
soundtrack behind that is incredible.
Right.
I was like, that is a great choice. I've never heard this song, but holy shit, it fits perfectly. But I think Double Fantasy had my favorite shot of the whole anthology. The, I guess, shot where whoever was filming, I imagine Elaine, was in like a sort of apartment block. And it's black and white and they're dancing down in the car park.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was fucking incredible. I was like, that is a gorgeous shot.
I think honestly the ending shot of Double Fantasy is great. The zoom in.
Yeah, oh no.
And then the kissing overlay. That's brilliant.
No, it is really
so good.
It is by far the highlight of And They Lived, in my opinion, as well.
See, this is, I think something like Double Fantasy shows you the talent of Elaine. And I think that's something that that needs to be
I've never wanted. Like, I've never thought that Elaine wasn't really talented.
Yeah.
Because on a technical level, regardless, even Slow Humidity, like, on a technical level...
very impressive.
And the other thing is you can see an insane amount of creativity. Like, you have to be incredibly creative. I think what you need is someone to, like, sort of round them in, and, like, really... what's the word? Sort of direct their abilities.
Okay, yeah.
And have them more... It's hard to articulate, but I feel like more clear with their vision.
I feel like if Elaine was like directing a script that they didn't write, like it was a script that, like a normal script, say.
A normal script.
Like, it's just a normal story. Like a man in a bread shop gets robbed.
Yeah.
Or something, like, for example.
Something simple.
But then take that just normal substance of a story and have Elaine's own unique style with it, I think would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
And what was it? With Double Fantasy, it's just that there is that clear theme and message throughout it, in my opinion, of the maturity and altering landscape of love.
Yep.
I feel like you didn't have to go searching to find that at all.
Yeah.
And it's not in your face either. It's just there and you get it and you can pick up on it straight away. And then you don't have to worry about thinking, what does this all mean? You just know what it means. And it's a lot easier to sit back and just look at how gorgeous it is and how nice it flows and all that, rather than really, as Isaac said earlier, having to work to understand and just figure out what's going on.
But undeniably on a technical level, I mean, Jesus, some of these shorts have been such a pain in the ass to edit. Holy crap! Seeing some of that.
That's something I wonder is how long,
especially the shorts.
Well,
especially the shorts.
I listened to 4ZZZ, obviously, as I said last night, and Elaine mentioned that it took about 2 months. Like straight every day working on something, and Elaine viewed it as an album where if...
Do you mean the editing process?
Yeah. And filming and script writing.
So the whole thing took 2 months?
Well, no, because a lot of these were done or not a lot, but some of them were uni pieces beforehand.
I see. Yeah.
But there was a uni break, and Elaine spent 2 months working on it, just almost consecutively. And because Elaine isn't the only director. There's two others, and there's also another... writer, and so obviously credits go to them as well for And They Lived, but so Elaine viewed this as an album where if you got stuck on one, you just move on to the next and you just keep working through it and then rinsing, repeating until there is the finished product. So much time and effort went into this.
I couldn't imagine having to do a project like this.
Well,
it's insane.
It's so much dedication. And look, it is really nice to see that it's paid off for Elaine. It's their most viewed film or release ever. Which, it's heartwarming. You love to see that, work pays off.
Well, especially we want some Brisbane filmmakers to do well.
Totally.
Yeah. It's, support local. But it's the truth,
Fab slogan.
Support local.
Support local, Fabs.
But yeah, I think we can all agree Double Fantasy is sort of the highlight of And They Lived.
Honestly, I enjoyed They as well.
I didn't. I liked Lived the most out of the three, and They Lived.
Really?
Yes.
See, I really didn't like Two Virgins. I didn't like that at all.
I like the first.
I kind of got lost by that. Yeah. I wouldn't say like I necessarily
like I respect the style because it halfway through it just turns into like a 20s expressionist film, and I respect that because it looked good.
Yeah.
Like it looked correct, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't just some phony try hard bullshit like that they tried to replicate it. It actually was correct. And Elaine clearly has watched expressionist work and gets it, but like fuck me, I was like, what is this?
Oh yeah, my short review of Two Virgins ramping with redness or whatever is
Raping.
You know, ramping. I didn't say that. Ramping.
She's not like
I said ramping. Anyway, you know, there's a really nice scene where there's like the haunting ghost dancing. Like,
yes.
And then like very soon after, I just immediately get lost, and then suddenly the anthology's over.
Yeah. Well,
it's almost like a snap. It's like there's a couple really nice scenes at the start, and then I'm just disinterested, unengaged, or disengaged, uninterested. There we go.
And what was the other one?
Switch that.
Is that
Hitching the Giddy Up?
Hitching the Giddy Up. That was fun.
That was great.
That was actually that was a funny short.
It was a nice break. Again, I don't really see it, as you've said, just the different forms of love.
Yeah.
Again, I would rather it just be released separately.
It's like, gotta chat shit about Star Wars, man. You know.
Well, they were mainly talking positively about it.
No, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like,
Even the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones.
Wasn't that one guy's favourite? Attack
yes,
of the Clones?
That's insane. That
like,
was my
what
favourite
the
when I was
fuck?
about 6.
Yeah, I was like,
when I heard that, I was
they were
like,
the
I'm
most-
turning this shit off.
you know that meme of The Rock where he's like,
Yeah.
Is that was me? Like he's saying, oh, Attack of the
And
Clones.
then they were
is the best.
like, the Phantom Menace just needed to be longer. I'm like, no, turn that shit off.
No.
Fucking hell.
The Phantom Menace is better than Attack of the Clones.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It is.
Attack of the Clones is hilarious.
Besides the new ones, like of the original six,
Yeah.
Attack of the Clones is the worst one. Of the
Oh,
original
absolutely.
six.
I'm pretty sure Elaine really. I think we're being a bit loud. I'm pretty sure Elaine really, really likes the Phantom Menace.
Really?
Cool.
Like from what
Fair
I've
enough.
checked,
I'd
not
respect
like a 10 or a 9, but like a 7 or an 8. Or
well,
something.
do you
want to check
I
it?
saw
tell you that right now.
somebody in Hitching the Giddy Up was like, they had some theory that the best Star Wars was always the newest one. And I was like, what?
Yeah, there was a guy who was like advocating for Rise of Skywalker, and I was like, clearly you're on crack.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Someone around the door.
Just ignore them.
Oh, that's annoying.
Well, it's our room. We can do the fuck
They're
we
checking
want.
the timetable.
Yeah, by the way, for people who don't know, like we film in a library, which is why we need to keep getting sponsorships so we don't have to keep filming here.
Yeah, we need like a badass studio.
Well, next
They gave
year
it
we'll get,
they gave it a 7.
We should just start filming in a theater.
7. In a movie
That'd
theater.
be pretty
yeah.
sick, yeah.
Would be, well, yeah.
And just
Can you imagine like front row sitting in the
that'd be
theater?
cool.
That'd be
Cinema
dope.
is the ultimate goal, sponsored by cinemas.
Well, that's the thing. I must point this out: is we were followed by Palace
Palace.
Cinemas, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So guys, hit us up. We want to do a collab.
Absolutely. Well, that's where we watched Barbenheimer, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's right.
Palace
yeah.
James Street.
That's right.
Well, does anyone else have anything to say about And They Lived?
Not really.
I feel like we've
Pretty extensive.
had a pretty good conversation about
I will
this.
say I'm currently doing an analysis and review of it, so that'll be up on Letterboxd if anyone wants to read
sometime
that.
soon.
Sure. I mean, totally.
Well, yeah, I'll just summarize. This is, I think, technically Elaine's best work.
Well, I think that's almost a given. Like as time goes on, if you're not,
always going to
you're
get
not
better.
an idiot, you get better. You know?
Elaine's best work. There are parts where there is story and strong theme and message that you can pick up on quite easily, but I feel like a lot of sort of Elaine's style gets sort of mixed up in a lack of story, which makes it disengaging for the audience.
Well, I think it's just going to be an interesting thing to see where they go.
Well, I would love to see a full just narrative.
Sure.
That is something I look forward to
that's
seeing in the future.
I think Elaine needs to commit to a 20-minute, 30-minute just narrative short. Have some style, but like rein it in a little bit. but just enough where it makes it, you know, unique in their own flavor, and then yeah,
you keep the style, your own take on something.
But just not like the whole thing being a phasey image or something, you know. Like,
I still really liked Lived.
No.
Anyway, should we get it off with ratings? Who'd like to?
Yeah, you can wrap it up if you like.
I'll go last.
Okay. Well, I know we said to get rid of 7s.
I give it a 7.
But I was split between a 3 and a 4, so.
Out of 5, you mean? Okay, yeah.
Out of 5. Sorry, yeah. So
Right.
You gotta,
3.5.
You gotta stop doing that shit.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm 7 out of 10, 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm gonna go a 6, just because for me there were a couple things I brought down, but there were just amazing stories within it. So it's
So my logic is, how much did I enjoy it? The technical elements, all of that stuff, and I think altogether, all of my accumulative enjoyment of this pie that is And They Lived, I liked 40% of it.
Okay, so
I'm going to give it a 4
so 2
out of 10. So that's a 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
That's
with
fair.
with an asterisk of I admire it more than I actually like it. Like, I can't give it a really high rating because I didn't really enjoy it at all.
That makes sense.
But, you know, I want to give full credit to Elaine. I think they're doing a great job. I think they are getting better every time they do stuff. But, you know, sometimes, you know, people just don't gel with certain people's work. And
I think that's a good point to
And
make as well.
Elaine's just style at the interim, you know, with the last few things that I've seen of them, theirs, you know, it's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So I respect it more than I like it. And I did also think some of it was a bit ugh, but there was other parts that I did really enjoy. So 4 out of 10, 2 out of 5.
Well, yeah, as I said, I was split between the, you know, a 6 and an 8. So
That's
But I mean, like, straight up, there are people who hate Tarkovsky. And we'll just give who give every Tarkovsky film a 1 out of 10 because they just don't like it. And it's like, look,
Which
if you
is
don't
understandable.
if you don't blend with the style, you can't if you don't get into the style, you can't enjoy it.
And especially when something is quite niche and difficult as is, you're going to have a lot more people struggle to get it.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
anyway,
The next film.
And well,
you must introduce it.
And They Lived is on YouTube if you'd like to go.
Yeah,
watch it.
we will put a link in.
Yeah,
put a link in
the description.
And again, we should say a big thank you to Elaine.
To Elaine for sponsoring this
absolutely.
episode.
Seriously appreciate
much
it.
appreciated.
Yeah, for enabling this. So we'll
Enabling.
move on. So Isaac, I think it's only fair for Isaac to introduce the next one. Yeah, makes sense.
A beautiful man has made another beautiful movie, maybe.
Yes.
Asteroid City by Wes Anderson.
Yes.
It is a stacked cast.
Oh my god, it's
Unbelievably
You can't even
stacked,
get into all of
They
them.
couldn't even fit Bill Murray.
Yeah, that
He wasn't even in it.
I heard he was supposed to be in
Was
it.
Willem Dafoe in
But it was like
Willem Dafoe
He
is
was in it, yeah.
Bill Murray was supposed to play. Who's the guy from The Office? That's
Steve
Carell.
Steve
of course,
Carell's job.
yeah.
He got sick.
Yeah, so
came
Steve
back to
Carell
set.
plays Bill Murray.
They
He
couldn't
doesn't
give
play
him the
Bill Murray,
role,
but his
so they
character.
made a short film with him in it about Asteroid
That's
City.
so sad, man.
Yeah.
He'll be in the next one. It's all right. He'll be in the next one.
But a very interesting movie, eh? It's
yeah, I've seen it twice now.
Oh yeah,
I saw it with Dad on
I
Wednesday.
really wish I rewatched it, but it's interesting. You know, it's very Wes Anderson.
It's very hard
Yes.
to kind of get every single thought out for a Wes film because there's always so much stuff.
Yeah.
Like
I think
every
with this-
scene, there's like 8 things you want to talk about.
I think with this, it's like you have to try and figure out the overarching, sort of a top down rather than the bottom up, because I think it's just so difficult to do a bottom up review of Asteroid City. But yeah, I mean, what do we think the whole idea of the movie is?
I was doing some reading, and on the rewatch, I was really trying to figure out the very last scene before the epilogue of you can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
Yeah, I still don't get that.
Well, yeah, I'm still in the process of figuring that out. So I was hoping to workshop it with you two.
Okay, well, here's my interpretation of the film.
Yep.
Is that it is sort of I'm going to use the word commentary, but a commentary on like the process of making a movie.
Okay.
Or just art in general, and that's why it sort of jumps between the layers of like the play, the play of the writer,
Yeah.
and then the real sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know how that would fit in with the You can't wake up. Because what level does that happen on? That is in the play, or is that
real? Is when the writer is trying to get scenes for the play. So the play of the writer.
In real life?
Or in black and white.
Yeah, but there's still 2 layers in the black and white.
Yeah, I know.
There's the TV show, and then there's the...
I'm pretty sure it's the real life.
Yeah, so what...
But is it the real life when it's like...
I don't know.
Something like that's happening?
What would that be? Them going...
You can't wake up...
Everyone doing that.
Well, yeah. I don't know.
What is that? I don't know what
one of the main themes in this film is sort of emotional repression.
Yeah.
Particularly with Augie. You know, like when Midge, so Scarlett Johansson, who is great in this, by the way, not as good as Jason Schwartzman though. Thought he was a standard actor.
Yeah.
But yeah, Midge goes, use your emotions. You know, use that whatever she said. She goes, let it all out, and then he like breaks down and gives this good acting when he's practicing a script with her. And then you see Tom Hanks when he pretends to strangle him, just furious and frustrated and stuff. So I was sort of thinking that you can't wake up if you don't fall asleep is like, sometimes you do have to the rest to have that break. That's a literal meaning.
Yeah.
Take time for yourself. Not everything has to be going 100 miles an hour all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Which doesn't fit in with the rest of the movie, except for the emotional repression, sort of.
Well, yeah, it's a bit of a movie about overcoming grief, of course, as well.
With the wife and mother,
And how obviously people do that differently.
See, I don't know. I mean, like, other than that moment with you can't
wake up if you don't fall asleep.
Yeah, you can't, like, other than that part, I like didn't even attempt to read into it. I was just kind of taking it.
It is a very enjoyable.
Yeah, I just took it as a comedy. I was just like thinking it was hilarious.
It is hilarious. That is a very good point.
It was so funny, and like I was enjoying the story, and I think that it does a great job of It's kind of insane that you can get so invested in the story that you're watching, even though every 10 minutes they break away, being like, "This is a play. This isn't real."
With Bryan Cranston,
he was so good. Bryan Cranston.
They break the fourth wall so much as well.
Oh, yes. There was no fourth wall, man. It was like
when he walks in and goes, "Am I not in this scene?"
Yeah,
that was great.
And it just slowly walks out, and the characters are stunned.
Like for example, when what's his name? Jason Schwartzman puts his hand on the
what does it mean?
And Scarlett Johansson's like, wait, did that actually happen? Because it was obviously not supposed to happen in the play, but he just fucking did it. That's great. It's hilarious. The alien.
The alien was the funniest part. The alien was the funniest thing.
He just comes in.
But again, so I recently, after watching Asteroid City, had never seen Isle of Dogs.
Oh really?
And I watched Isle of Dogs, and it was awesome. And I think Wes is just one of the best at animation, and his animation style is so good. And I loved his incorporation of the alien animation in the film, because that was animated. That whole thing was stop motion animation. I just thought that was so cool.
Obviously, there's the models, so all the mountains are models.
The
train at the very start.
I don't know if you guys play, so it's constantly reminding you that it's a play, and it's a bit
I don't know if you noticed though. It's a really cool detail, unless I'm going insane, but I'm pretty sure I'm not, is that when you look at the backdrop, right, of the desert, there's actually, if you look at the sky, there's a point where there's a very sort of faint
box.
There's a crease.
Oh no, yeah, I think
that's what happens when you have wallpapers when you're making something. You'll get a crease, and I was like, the reason that's there, and it's the whole way down the screen, is because that's actually, you're not watching a real story. This is a play.
That's what it
and I thought that was so cool. I was like, that's a really interesting little detail.
The first thing that stands out is, after watching it, this is just an incredibly clever script.
Clever script, well made.
What it reminds me of is, have you guys seen Rushmore?
Yes.
So in Rushmore, he uses these curtains that come in, and it constantly reminds you it's a movie, which I think a lot of directors would be like, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But for Wes, it works perfectly. He uses it, and I don't know, just to break the fourth wall, to constantly, in a way, bring you out of the story. But for some reason, that just works. It just keeps you within it even more. I don't know how he does it, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's very, I don't know. It's very interesting.
I I really liked Maya Hawke's character as well. She's the teacher.
Yeah.
I thought her character was just so random yet really enjoyable. I thought she was really
the
fun.
cowboy guy.
Yeah, well, what I loved about it is you are really engaged in just about every character that's not minor.
Correct.
So you're emotionally engaged in the father, Augie, his father-in-law.
Yeah.
I thought some of the brainiacs, they're hilarious. Like,
I did want to ask you a question specifically, Marlon, because I find with Wes movies, every time I watch them the first time, they're always, like, my opinion of them either just goes a lot higher the second time, or I go, nah, it's actually not as good as I remember it, although that doesn't happen, like, often. So when I watched this originally, I really liked it. Is it as good or better the second time?
I enjoyed it better.
Yeah.
But the level on which I'm going to rate it later is still the same.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
But it is, you get to pick up on more straight away. Like one of the things I find the funniest, the most hilarious about this is at the very start, after the comical car chase, it pans to that fucking bridge overpass.
That was great.
That shit is hilarious. The first time,
classic Wes Anderson.
Yeah, that was such a Wes Anderson.
The first time I watched it, I didn't see what it said on the sign.
Yeah.
But on the sign it says closed due to mathematical miscalculation or something along those lines. And that's hilarious. Like, how could...
But even the idea of there being a bridge there just makes no sense.
That's what I'm saying in general.
good.
But just the little quip there of...
See, I also I loved the you can buy land out of a vending machine.
Yeah.
I thought that was the funniest thing.
You could buy margaritas.
You could just go buy some land from fucking Asteroid City in the vending machine.
Another thing that I really loved about this is it almost seems like they're being... Some of the vending machines are manually operated. Like he goes, hey, can you use this one for me? And then Steve Carell disappears, hits it. Yeah. Like, so either it's just permanently broken or like he's pushing a button himself in there. Because it is the 50s.
Yeah.
It's like this machine stole my quarter. It's like, oh, my bad.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a really funny film. And that's a thing with a lot of Wes Anderson's films. It's just witty dialogue.
Well, yeah, because he writes dialogue in such a weird, specific way. So I think that sort of unfamiliarity with that kind of language is what
somehow
is so
like
amazing.
He achieves the dialogue like it's still emotive yet it's robotic.
It's
like
weird
how they talk is just like your mother's dead.
Yeah, it's so unnatural, but
but
so
like
natural.
You still get it. It's weird. It's weird.
You never loved me.
Yeah.
I never. You thought I wasn't good enough for her. Well, yes. I think
it's like the complete opposite to like Tarantino dialogue. Like Tarantino dialogue, they both work out being very natural feeling, but Tarantino's trying to write like realistic dialogue, whereas Wes Anderson's like, this is how you would speak if you had like planned out every single conversation in your life.
Yeah, like at the very start when Augie's son is introduced to Midge's daughter, and she waves, and he immediately like looks down and drinks his milkshake. Like a film like that where it's about grief of a loved one, I can't relate to in a sense, at least in sort of a conscious way. But just the other small things of, like a crush or being nervous around a girl, just shit like that is so relatable. Which in a story about an alien taking a rock is...
That's the most relatable part.
Yeah, well that actually happened
daily.
last night. Yeah. My house is gone now.
Shit.
I actually think one of the best scenes I thought was Margot Robbie's scene where
I've got that written down. That shit was amazing.
Jason gets to the balcony and he looks across and sees her, and it's like, oh, we used to work together on that thing. And they just have that really nice, simple conversation at the end. I was just like, that's great.
Well,
that's good
I
shit.
think in two ways I love that. It's him taking a break. It's him having that rest. It's taking a step away, which falls into the can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. Sometimes you got to step away from everything. The second thing is, instead of just having that scene of the mother and Augie just in the actual Asteroid City, they've gone out and they've just talked about the scene. And so that's another level of having the story change. And I thought, fuck, that is just really, really clever.
And it's really like Margot Robbie looked nothing like Margot Robbie in a way.
Especially from the front row, like with the hair, like everyone.
It was really good job in regards to the makeup department, but yeah, she was great. I think that scene it worked really well. I think actually a lot of the real life scenes did a really good job of bringing that extra layer.
But then immediately in the scene, as soon as Augie walks back inside, the other character goes, "Oh, we always had a scene together too," like, and he's like trying to sort of force some sort of romance.
I also just gotta quickly mention, as always, Adrian Brody.
What a guy!
Seriously, one of my favorite actors ever.
He's in it so little.
He's just the best. Anytime he shows up in Wes Anderson movies or just anything, like he was in Peaky Blinders, he's just the coolest dude ever. Like, I just love him. And his character's his character's so whack, like in everything, and especially in this, like he's trying to do his boxing practice, and the bag is right next to him. He's doing air boxing, like he's doing it, but the bag's right next to him, and he's just going like against the air.
It is really funny.
It's so stupid.
It's just crazy, but I love it.
One of my favorite things is just the color palette of the film.
Yeah, Wes Anderson movies' color are always great. Yeah, it's always so bright. Yeah, he loves bright colors.
My dad made the statement that it looks painted.
It does,
and that's just because of. I'm pretty sure he uses camera filters, lenses.
There are some where it looks painted, and other times where it's just colorful, but it's realistic. Like the French Dispatch is not painted, but it doesn't look painted.
But it just looks like it has a filter on it or something.
Yeah, exactly. But just the gorgeous contrast between the oranges and reds of the desert.
Yes.
And the bright blue sky the whole time. It's so easy on the eye.
Tom Hanks's character is like a weird color,
Yeah, it's like orange.
He's got like his orange shirt, and even his skin is like orange, and his hair is like a bluish grey.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that
blue and orange are the main color palettes in the film.
Yeah.
But it is just very easy on the eye, as almost all Wes Anderson films are. Beautiful cinematography, interesting story. Just a really enjoyable film to watch.
Yeah. Because I never rewatched The French Dispatch either. I've only seen The French Dispatch once, and I really want to see it. I really want to see it again. Same with this, because they just, I feel like all Wes Anderson movies get better as you marinate on them, and you see them again. Because, and similarly, like his films are not art house in the way that you would think, like David Lynch. Something where it's
Gaspar
or whatever it is. Like you're sitting there thinking, what am I watching? Like you understand what you're looking at for Wes Anderson movies, but there's always so much subtlety that you can rewatch them. Like I've seen The Grand Budapest like 4 times, and every time I get more. Same with The Fantastic Mr. Fox. Like you see stuff.
Okay, ironically, you say that, but the people behind us in the theater walked out, and remember they said, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah, that was actually true.
They said, "What the fuck was that about?"
Yeah, which was so funny.
I'm sorry, what were you watching?
Yeah, dude, that's right. Like we walked out, and all these guys were going, "What the fuck was that?"
And because it isn't critically acclaimed either.
What happened?
Yeah.
What just happened there? And all of us walked out. We're like, "Oh yeah, we got it." Yeah. We didn't understand one line of dialogue,
but it wasn't even like
that one line of can't fall asleep, whatever. That was the only thing. One line we didn't understand. But otherwise, like, if you're not an idiot and you just are paying attention, you're not on your fucking phone, you can understand what you're watching.
But it isn't that highly rated. But
is it really
by critics and on Letterboxd alone? Alike.
What's its Letterboxd rating?
I think it's like a 7.4.
You mean like a 3.6?
Yeah, 3.6.
So 7.2. Yeah.
Yeah, 75% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I wonder if it's...
Not that
is it because of the subtleties and complexity of the story?
I think it's because it's become so extreme Wes Anderson. I think
62% from the audience.
I'm surprised the French Dispatch honestly didn't have the same reaction.
That's almost rotten.
Actually, to be fair, French Dispatch is pretty much the same. So what my theory is, I think with Wes Anderson, as he becomes more and more Wes Anderson, people become more and more like, oh, this is
Wes Anderson.
This is fucking nothing.
So the French Dispatch and Asteroid City both got 75% from critics. Okay. They got the exact same score.
Right.
Yeah. Well, what's funny about Wes Anderson is people go like, oh, it's just all style.
Which is just complete bullshit.
Which is...
I will say though that some of his earlier films, and I would say his best ones, are the ones where there's still a lot of heart, yet there's...
You're emotionally engaged.
Yeah, but okay, you are in Asteroid City, but nowhere near as much as you might be in the story of Moonrise Kingdom.
Yeah, Moonrise
Kingdom. Yeah, no, not at all. That's my second favourite Wes Anderson film.
But I think Wes Anderson is at a point in his career where he doesn't want to tell those kind of stories anymore. Like,
he just wants to go nuts.
This is a very like meta story about, like, it's almost just about himself, you know.
And the French Dispatch, which is the previous one, was also like kind of about nothing. It was just a love letter to journalism, as he called it. And like, journalism is kind of nuts because you just have different things happening, and he will just present stuff in the French Dispatch like he doesn't explain it. It's just like, oh, you're watching this now, shut up, enjoy it, you know, which I respect that. But, you know, earlier films of his, like, Grand Budapest or Fantastic Mr. Fox,
Bottle Rocket, even
Moonrise Kingdom, Darjeeling Limited.
The only two I haven't seen are Bottle Rocket and Isle of Dogs.
See, I haven't seen Bottle Rocket or Life Aquatic. They're the two.
You haven't seen Life Aquatic?
They're the two. To do that last year, man.
Yeah, I never watched it. They were the only two Wes I haven't seen, not counting any short films and shit like that.
So you guys know the Alien, right? You know how when their car breaks down at the very start?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that just before.
That thing
what
falls
the fuck
out.
was that? Was that from the Alien?
And it's like alive.
Yeah.
Well, see, the piece he uses to try and fix it, it's like a little T-shape, upside down T. He tries to screw it in. When the alien comes down, the landing thing is the exact same looking. Like, the landing platform the alien's standing on is the exact same
as the screw around, or the screw?
The screw that he tries to fix it with. So I don't know whether that's just coincidence, but I do think the thing in the car was from the alien.
Yeah, well, that's what I assumed, but then they don't come back to it.
Yeah.
So I was like, is that just a funny joke? It's like a moving thing.
Like, how funny is it? Like, the little quips everywhere. He just pulls a hose out and waters it, and it blows up.
I wanted to say as well, a very important to address, because for all Wes films, without a doubt, and Asteroid as well, he never skips on the music.
Yeah,
music's always so good. And I actually had people complaining about this one, like the music in this one, where it's like ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. And I was like, how did
it's set
I didn't
in the
find
desert.
it. I just didn't find it annoying. Like, people are like, oh, it's so boring and annoying and repetitive.
It's annoying.
I was like, shut up. No. What do you mean?
How good was the little kid's song for the Alien?
Oh yeah,
in the classroom.
Yeah, that was.
I actually really enjoyed like the cowboy subplot with the little kid. Like, he's smoking a cigarette.
You get back here right now.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, and then the closing credits where Freight Train.
Yeah.
Freight train. Dude,
yeah.
I listened to that the whole way home. I loved that. It was great.
Yeah. So the train, it was really good.
And the score isn't overbearing at all. It's just it sits there nicely in the background.
But there are so many scenes where there's no music at all. And these people are like, oh, the music, like the bum ba da score just like takes over the whole movie. And I was like, shut up. What do you mean?
Yeah.
It came up like 4 times.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I will say, though, I think it's important for people who are not Wes Anderson fans, which I think we all are, big ones, especially Bowie. You know, he loves Wes.
Yeah. Bowie actually got me onto Wes Anderson.
He kneels before the altar of Wes Anderson. But, like, if you've not seen many Wes films, Asteroid City is not the one to start with.
Oh, God, no.
It is, you really need to, like, his recent movies, like, I would say Isle of Dogs and French Dispatch and Asteroid City are all like, if you're a fan of his stuff, you're going to like it. But if you've never seen his work or you don't like his work, then don't watch it. You need to start with something like Moonrise Kingdom, I think.
As you once said to me, never tell anybody not to watch something.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, when did I say that? I probably
a couple podcasts ago.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
When I said that.
But no, what I mean though is I'm not saying for them not to watch it. I'm just saying watch it once you know you like Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, if you've never seen Wes Anderson before, it's pretty likely that you'll watch Asteroid City and be like, I don't get it. Fuck this guy.
I still think
you won't give him another chance.
You won't give him another chance.
I still think the best way to start is with Fantastic Mr. Fox. And
I don't know if you
start with Moonrise
Bottle
Kingdom.
Rocket. You guys probably haven't seen. You haven't seen Bottle Rocket?
No.
Nah.
See, that is his most like normal movie.
Really?
I'm sure.
Yeah. It's still like Wes Anderson, but it's so normal.
Well, like compared to his recent stuff, Rushmore is like a normal movie.
That's a good point, actually.
Well, I think that if you start with Fantastic Mr. Fox, that exact same style of Wes Anderson translates into the actual human films.
Sure.
And if you're going to like Fantastic Mr. Fox, you're going to like everything else just about.
Well, it's definitely one of the best like written ones.
Well, I think it's the best Wes Anderson film, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
I saw it in cinema actually, at Palace only 2 or 3 months ago. It was great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So
it's
good.
a fantastic movie. Yeah.
That's your cue, Isaac, when you're editing this.
Yeah, just start like having applause, audience applause at that joke. Yeah, I don't have much more to say.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I think it's
Wes Anderson, bro.
Wes Anderson.
That's my review. It's Wes Anderson, bro.
We all love Wes Anderson.
Get behind it. It's Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Join the club, bitch.
If you don't like it, fuck you.
Fuck yourself.
Who cares about other people's opinions, eh?
No. Yeah,
I don't know. It's a movie that I feel like you could spend ages analyzing, maybe. But it's also one that I don't necessarily feel like
you need to.
It wants you to even. It's like,
I mean, I feel like it
think
would just
about
kind
it
of,
a little bit.
It would happen naturally.
Yeah.
Like I'm definitely gonna watch it again, and when I see it second time, who knows? I'll probably be like, no, I want to break this down.
It's also
I want to take notes. I want to fucking work the shit out. But you know, most of them I watch and I just go, yeah, it was fun.
It's also not that long as well.
No,
which is
nice.
How long is it? It's like an hour 40.
Yeah, something like that.
It's just a nice film to watch, you know. Sure, you can get lost in the complexities of the stories within the stories, portraying a story about a story, blah blah blah, right?
Just vibe with it, man.
Exactly, you don't have to get lost in it.
Just fucking sit.
You just
there.
enjoy the. You could watch it entirely.
Just sit there and watch Scarlett Johansson get naked, pretty much.
That does happen, fellas.
That is a really nice relationship that gets developed.
Somebody say something in the theater about her getting naked. I swear.
I think there was like those row of like six.
They were like, oh my god, she's naked.
Those row of 6 morons who were behind us who couldn't actually follow the fucking story. You know, they're sitting there going, oh.
And then someone else is like,
she's naked. Yeah. Show it again. Like,
and then someone was like, it's not her first time getting naked. And
God, what? Because they're referring to
what are they fucking
skin, which is like a completely different
watching.
vibe.
If I refuse to believe that those cunts who don't know what Asteroid City is, they're watching Under the Skin.
What the fuck?
Bullshit.
One thing you touched on before with the subplot of the cowboys and the teacher and the kid, etc., is all the relationships within the film are developed really well, I feel.
Well, I like that one because it's very obvious. Like you can almost, it's like subtle, but even from the beginning, you can like their first interaction, the cowboy and the teacher, like you can see it happening. It's like
exactly. But like everything, it does feel natural. Like you've got the sort
it feels like a really well written play.
Exactly. The lonely.
It does feel like a play for sure.
Yeah, the lonely scientist that goes, you could perhaps be my understudy, and you know, sort of just like admiring this child. And like, how funny are the kids demonstrating their weapons and the weapons themselves, like used for interstellar marketing, and there's just a fucking American flag on the wall.
That's right.
On the moon, and it's like maybe will cause a couple wars in the future.
Elon's probably working on that.
Yeah.
He's gonna just do SpaceX advertising on Mars.
And what about the Asian father and son? And just how funny they were, and you know, the people have the right information in the trial that they're holding because of the alien.
Yeah.
And Dear Demi.
Yeah.
Dear Demi.
Well, that was a really interesting thing as well. Like
when he goes,
he's beating him. Why do you do this?
He gets all existential.
He explains like the reasoning behind it, and it's like, damn.
Yeah, but what about
when get sad?
If you touch that red button, it'll break your fucking neck. And, and he clearly touches the button, and you hear them like. Yeah,
that just reminded me. This is like a completely nothing thing, but on the way here, there was like you know the button to walk across the street.
Yep.
Yeah.
And above it, there was a thing saying, "Don't press this button. It's automated now." So why the fuck is the button there? Like it was like this bizarre.
Bro, people need the sense of the button.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know,
but why can't I press it there? Like it's telling me not to press it.
You know, like there are certain cars now where if you just approach the car with car key, it'll unlock.
Nah, fuck that.
But people need the feeling of
pressing it, hearing the click.
I need to know it's locked. I need to know it's my car's locked. You know, it's just a thing, I guess.
Well, yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
On one of the other kids, just almost every scene is funny in its own right. Like when the playwright is with Augie's actor in the cabin. You guys picking up where I'm... Yeah. I want to open this window, get some air in. Can't, breaks it. And then they
just fucking breaks him.
And then right before they make out, he drops his Dax. Oh no, drops his pants, just like full on drops it. It's like just funny little things like that the whole way through the movie. And they're not like, oh my god, I'm going to be rolling on the floor laughing. But it keeps you engaged, and it just makes you enjoy it more and more and more.
Yeah, it's not like watching The Room where like every single line of dialogue just makes you fucking die of laughter.
I still need to see that in cinema.
But it's a movie where it's like you got to.
Can we go see The Room at New Farm?
I will happily watch it again.
It's the greatest.
I would love to watch it.
You told me,
watch it drunk though.
Well,
that's what I did.
We'll make a night out of it.
It would be so funny watching it.
Dude,
drunk.
it was insane. I walked in, right? The movie started. 2 seconds in, I started pissing myself laughing, and I was worried that I was gonna like not be able to finish the movie because it was too funny.
So I'm watching it sober, and I felt like I was drunk.
Yeah,
I was like, this movie is fucking.
It's such a funny movie that I was afraid I wasn't gonna be able to fucking watch it.
Well, let's make a night out of it. There's pubs, bars everywhere. Do it.
We should.
Instead of going to the thing I said the other day, go to a bar for Faps drinks.
Oh yes, the Faps drinks.
Go to the room and have some Faps drinks after that. But anyway, let's wrap.
You gotta have them before it, Marlon.
And, before and after. Anyway, let's wrap Asteroid City up. Nick, would you like to start?
No.
Well, I'm making you start.
Bowie has to start.
I opened it. I'll start the closing too, but I'm giving it an 8.
Yep. 8.
Yeah, probably.
A sheep?
Nah, well...
What are you thinking, Nick?
Is it 8 or is it a 7? I just hate giving things 7.
That'd make 2 for the podcast.
Oh, that means you have to give it a 6. Hey, give me 6. That's gonna be a 5.
Oh, fuck, it could be a 2.
Oh.
Nah, 7. All right, it's gone
7. Awesome.
Fucking fair enough.
And now we are on to Nick's pick.
Yes, so...
For last month.
Very excited to talk about this.
I'm not.
So, The Searchers... You're a loser, Marlon. So, The Searchers, directed by John Ford, is Martin Scorsese's favourite movie. This is one of the most influential westerns ever. Most of those classic filmmaker people like Coppola and all them think John Ford's one of the greatest filmmakers ever, especially for American cinema. It stars John Wayne, who's one of the most famous classic Hollywood actors ever. He's my dad's favourite actor, and for a very long time he's been wanting me to watch like John Wayne movies, and I never had, and so this was my first one. So yeah, it's essentially, it is a Western. It's about a family who is attacked by Native Americans, and some of them are killed and some of them are taken away. And then
the women specifically.
Yeah, and it's down to John Wayne, who is their uncle, and
his nephew.
And a couple of other people. Yeah, like his nephew. There's also the sort of kid who lives there but was like adopted into the family. He's not actually part of the family, and various other people. There's various other characters. There's a sort of sheriff who's around, and there's tons of different people, and they all have to go out on this sort of long journey to try and find
these girls.
That's essentially the film. So, what did we think, fellas?
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
No.
Okay.
I found the start of it not extremely enjoyable.
Yeah.
But I really, really enjoyed the second half.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was... I think the style, maybe I just wasn't prepared to get into something like that. It took me a while.
Yeah.
I guess the only other not major, but criticism I have of it is that I didn't fucking realise how much time had passed until they were like, 5 years has gone by. I'm like,
and all of a sudden, like the girl they're trying to find as an adult.
Like I do
agree. They don't.
They did not let me know that.
They don't really let you know.
Well, I guess my main thing is I love the look of it. It is beautiful.
Well, there's no green screen.
I know. Well, I always remember back in grade 10 film class, case studies for extreme long shots and long shots were always westerns.
Yes, that's right.
And I completely understand why. Like, you can't do better than that. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
But I just didn't like the story. I wasn't interested. It's
okay.
This long journey to find someone, and then the person doesn't want to be found, and doesn't want to come back, and then sort of from there, there's this whole, well, I want to bring her back, and I'm going to kill her, and I wasn't that interested in it.
Well, the way I understand it is that it was more a commentary on I guess racism in a way.
Well, yeah, it is. It does a pretty bad job.
Well, I don't know. I think they do a very obvious job of showing how fucking racist what's his name, Ethan is. But the only thing is, I don't know, they kind of justify it in a way.
But they don't. See, I
absolutely they give the reason for it, I think.
I absolutely disagree with that, though, because, like, Ethan is not presented as a good person. You're not supposed to root for him as a character. You're supposed to kind of like the guy he's traveling
Martin.
with.
I did. That was my favorite character of the film.
I thought he was annoying, but
I liked him.
So Ethan is not a good person, and like when this film came out, John Wayne was always like the classic cowboy hero type character, and this film was insanely controversial.
I read about this, yes.
Because he was playing a huge prick.
A lot of people were surprised that he'd even take a role like this.
He was playing a massive douche.
And I think what you're about to say is that it's almost a flawed criticism of...
Well, no.
the criticism in it is flawed.
Well, not necessarily. The more of it is, I think the whole movie is more of an analysis of his character and how damaging racism can actually be for one's psyche, because it can cloud you in the most basic things where you'd think no person would think like that in that situation, right? And so my dad, who'd seen the film a number of times, seen tons of John Wayne films, you know, blah 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 blah, but he hadn't seen it for a while, and watching it with him at the point where they find her, they find the girl, and she comes over to them when they've had to flee the
when she's
camp.
running down the hill.
She's running down the hill, and John Wayne goes to shoot her. He goes to shoot her, and my dad went, "What the fuck?
Yeah, because his whole
why
thing
would he do that?
Because she's now like one of the Native Americans, which is to him a worse way of living than just being dead.
Being dead,
which is just
that was something that I thought was funny. Like,
I thought that was very
the life of a Native American versus the life of the Western people, it just seemed like it was almost the exact same. They live in the desert. They move around.
They're nomadic in the sense. They'd be eating very similar.
So I think that was an interesting thing. Is like he's like, wow, that's so much worse to be like that when it really isn't.
Yeah, purely just on race and culture.
Yeah. Well, even like when they find the grave of that dead Indian and they're like, you know, having some discussion, and then he just fucking shoots at the eyes.
Well,
like,
that's right.
Another thing I thought,
don't let them get to the spirit land or some shit.
That's right.
Another thing I thought which confused me, if we take the stance that, well, Ethan Hunt.
Wait a minute. Who are you? Huh?
Is the I guess antagonist in a sense, or just
Ethan Hunt.
Ethan Hunt is from Mission
Impossible. His name's Ethan Edwards.
There we go.
Ethan Hunt is Tom Cruise.
Ethan. Sorry, I got the actor of Martin's last name. Okay. If we take Ethan as
imagine Ethan Hunt was in this movie. Sorry,
as this bad character,
so badass.
He'd find the girl like one day.
Yeah. As this bad character, and Martin is supposed to be the good character. Well, then what confuses me is Martin treats Native Indians almost as bad. There is a scene when they somehow buy a wife instead of a blanket.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And then she's sleeping next to Martin on a hill, and he kicks her, and she just fucking rolls like 10 meters. Yeah. And it's hilarious, but I don't understand. Like, I get he's trying to be loyal to his partner back home, but there is no blurring of the lines of... Well, there is blurring of the lines of, okay, so...
Well, they also don't treat her as a human.
At all, but yeah, exactly. So, but if he's supposed to be the good character... representing the... Because other times he's going, no, these Native Americans aren't bad, blah, blah, blah.
But it shows that racism is embedded in everyone, though.
But the film is also... Like, it doesn't really take the white man's side at all. And I feel like the film's almost a deconstruction of, like, the myth of the cowboy type thing. Like, this cowboy sort of classic gunslinging dude. Because when Ethan shows up, that's essentially what he is. And for the first little bit, you think he's cool.
Yeah.
And even when he's doing shit like he shoots out the eyes of that Indian's corpse, right? You know, although you might go, fuck, that's a bit, you know, harsh. You don't dislike him because all you've seen of the Native Americans so far is they've murdered his family.
Yeah.
So you've gone, well, yeah, I'm still with him, you know. But then the movie goes on, and by the end, you go, fucking hell, can Ethan just die? He just fuck off? Like, he's a psychopath.
Like when he's chasing down the girl who's older now at the end, and you're like, and Martin's like, no, he's gonna fucking kill her.
Well, yeah, Martin's chasing after Ethan. Martin's chasing after Ethan.
That's one of the problems I had with it. Is that the film sort of shoots itself in the foot by rectifying or trying to
give him growth.
Yeah, by then suddenly him picking her up and swaying her around. And
but did you not get that callback? Did you not get that?
Was because when they were a kid.
Yeah, so he would always do that.
The whole story's built up to him killing her, and then all of a sudden he switches in an instance. There is no character progression of slowly, I guess, sort of developing a sense of maybe I should kill her. He's always bang, 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 bang.
I would say I agree and disagree with that, because I absolutely agree with Isaac's criticism, and I have the same, which is that they are terrible with the passage of time. Mm-hmm. There's no indication. And I remember being like, fucking hell, 5 years. What the fuck? It's been 5 years. You'd think they'd have a beard.
I was like, what the fuck happened in 5 years?
You'd think they'd have a beard or something by now. But like, at the same time, because of that progression, as soon as they saw her and Ethan tried to kill her, and then him and Martin leave, Martin immediately, because Ethan was shot with an arrow, and he had to take him away. And Ethan's writing his will because he thinks he's going to die. And he's writing his will out to Martin being like, oh, you'll have all my shit. And Martin spits on him and is like, fuck off. I don't want your shit because you tried to kill her for no reason. And then there's still a significant amount of time between that point in the film and the end of the film, which is when he doesn't kill her. Yep. So I took that as to meaning that in that time, because Martin's the only one that Ethan has in his life. Even though Ethan's a cold son of a bitch, they've had that point where they've been together for years. Gone on a journey together for years. And so clearly there's some sort of connection there. And Martin's shit all over him being like, fuck you. And,
So you think that's led to some
self-reflection? Think about it. If you yourself did something and the only person you've ever cared for says what a terrible piece of shit you are, as you've got an arrow in you and you're about to die, you've gone, fuck, this is how I'm going to go out. I'm going to die with the one person I know hating me because I did this mistake. And then from that point on till when he saves her, clearly there could have been another year in that time. Yeah, but sure, they don't detail how long has passed, which is a mistake. But by the end, when he does save her, I thought that was a beautiful moment. I was into that moment because I also did remember him picking her up as a little child, and it was a moment of innocence when you've had such a long sort of, just before that there was a massive shootout massacre at the Indian camp, and it's all terrible and everyone's being stabbed and shot and everyone's dying and it's all terrible. And then you have this moment of childlike innocence. So I thought it worked, and when you think about it, I think it does work for Ethan's character. However, they could have added a bit more in between that moment and the ending. And also, yes, they don't do the passage of time particularly well.
Yeah, but I still think if the message of the film is to sort of, I guess as I say, portray the inherent racism in people and to sort of take the stance of the Native Americans, etc., it's sort of, it works backwards in the sense, okay, so what, 5 years of being this terrible person is fine for the one scene of rectifying it. If you're trying to portray that message the whole way through, then suddenly changing it up, even if there is that room for growth and not showing it.
Well, I think I
think it sort of works against what it's trying to do.
But the ending shot of the movie isn't him being embraced by the family. It's him walking away.
Yeah. Which is also, again, I want to add, that's one of the most famous shots in cinema.
Well, that was my favourite shot of the film. It was my favourite part of the film.
That's considered one of the greatest shots in cinema history.
But to me, what that says isn't that he's been forgiven for being an absolute fucking racist.
No, he's not forgiven.
Horrible man.
And
he's literally he committed a crime too. No?
But not only that, I think towards the end when he is leaving the ending, I think he self-elects to do that.
Yeah, I agree too.
He's not trying to go in. He goes, you know what?
I don't deserve to be
part of this. I completed my job. I honoured my brother by saving his daughter. Yeah. But I've not been I don't deserve a happy ending. Yeah. And he leaves,
Yeah.
So I don't think, if he was embraced at the end and it was all hunky-dory, then I'd probably go, look, that's not really working with what you're trying to say. But because of the very ending where he pisses off to be alone and depressed, I kind of go, look, I think that works. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But I do want to, we did mention it briefly at the start, but we've got to mention technically one of the best looking movies I've seen. Yeah. Set in the American desert, all of the rocks there, in Arizona and shit, in Utah, look incredible. The far distance, you got all this stuff. You know, across the river, that's a real river. The shootouts there.
Oh yeah,
that was another.
When it was snowing, all of that looked awesome. You know,
how impressive is the, I guess, organization to be able to pull off those battles?
Totally, yeah.
Like holy shit, to get all that, to get all those horses and all the men on them and have it still work out and look as good as it does is so impressive. And I think they do it twice or 3 times just throughout the film. It is really, really impressive.
But I mean, again, like you do say that you don't think that the film fully goes against itself, but I think that like it goes against itself in its messaging.
It contradicts itself, yeah.
But I think that, you know, it's trying to have this message, but also they would be aware, and the public was aware, the press, that John Wayne is this classic, clean-cut American hero, and now he's playing this psycho douchebag. And I think the filmmakers themselves would have been aware of that. And I think that's why also through him, just as an actor, the message is reinforced because you've got the first half hour where you clearly are just wanting to hate the Native Americans because why would you like them? I mean, they've killed the entire family. They go into the desert. They find one corpse. Like, they don't even show it. They just say she's dead, you know, and you just keep going and you're like, fuck. But then you get to the very end of the movie and this classic cowboy hero that the American people are supposed to love he walks away. Yeah. He's like, goodbye. You know, I just think that so much of that symbolically is so powerful beyond just the narrative of the story, you know? Yeah. I think it works. I think there's a level of, you know, the fourth wall breaking almost, that it's like this classic hero is not actually a hero type thing, you know? I think it works.
Yeah, I agree that's some sort of deconstruction of... I haven't seen enough Westerns though, so it's difficult for me to really have an opinion on this. But I think it just seems like it is very obviously doing something to that effect.
So, like as I said, my dad's a huge fan of John Wayne. Has probably seen about 100 John Wayne movies. He's like, he loves him.
Holy shit. And is there that many?
John Wayne made about 200 movies in his career. And so many of them Westerns. And my dad's seen like all these Westerns. And in every movie, it's just, he's the same character basically. He's just this good cowboy.
He's like the Rock of the 90s.
Yeah, he's like this cool cowboy, doesn't say much, just kind of turns up, does his thing, and leaves. And by the end of the movie, like, he might get a love interest, or he gets money, or he gets whatever it is, and it's like he's the celebrated hero. But then at the end of this, he walks away with absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You know,
which is it one of his later films?
No, it was happened like during the middle of his career.
Right.
You know, because I think he started making movies in the early 70s. And he started making movies in the 40s. So this is like dead in the middle because this is 56. Yeah. You know, you just got to think about it. Like, that just shows that what this film is. And like, again, all these filmmakers who just adore the film, like Scorsese. Scorsese's one of the masters of the anti-hero. Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, Wolf of Wall Street, all these different characters, King of Comedy. And his favorite movie is The Searchers. And I think there's a reason for that. Yeah. You know, I think thematically The Searchers works, you know. I don't think it's perfect. It's not a 10 out of 10 or anything like that, of course. Like, Scorsese thinks it is, but I don't think so. Because they're great. Like, some technical issues are there. But
I think he's got some nostalgia ratings, you know. Well, he did it when he was like 13.
Yeah, he said he went to the theater and saw it at 13, and the whole theater was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, because John Wayne's trying to kill the child that they've spent an hour and a half searching for, and then he just tries to just no hesitation shoot her in the face. And apparently, like, the whole theater was just screaming, going, "Oh my god, why is he doing that? What is this?"
Or like when when he's like, they're like at the river and the Indians are like charging across and they're shooting them all, and then they start backing off, and he's trying to shoot like the weak ones. Yeah. And they're like, "What the fuck?" Yeah. Relax, man.
It's crazy.
Well, it shows just like his pure hatred for them. He fucking wants them to suffer.
Yeah, but like racism corrupts, and it leads you down a path where there is no goodness.
It's not rational.
It's not rational, and there's no goodness for you. Yeah. He was so corrupted by racism that by the end of it, not only did he almost ruin the memory of his slaughtered family and go against the very thing he was fighting for, he almost shit all over it by trying to kill her and not even realizing. And then at the end, he still completed his goal and then fucks off with nothing. You know, like, it's kind of like, you know, I think it does work.
I want to talk about some of the technical flaws in the film. Yep. I think the outside set design in a lot of the camping scenes is fucking shocking.
The one...
Like, it's incredibly tacky.
The one that's like kind of swampy, I noticed immediately it was a set.
But yeah, some of the outdoor set designs are just bad.
But I wonder, like, I don't know.
Because the inside ones...
But the majority of it is natural landscape.
Yeah, I know, but when it's not, you can notice.
The more camping, like...
Sure. When they're camped up, it's bad. There was, like, a fake rock at one point, and it just looked shit. Like for a film that is, generally speaking, gorgeous throughout, to have just this...
Oh, sure. And maybe that's a problem that they were so able to utilize natural landscape that when they had to use a set,
they didn't know what to do.
You know, because there probably wasn't a fucking swamp out there, so they had to build one.
Yeah,
and so it was like, oh, okay.
A lot of the sound, mixing, and effects.
Yeah, but that's the 50s.
Man. I know. I just don't. It's not me. I don't like it. It's shit.
It just can't be helped.
I know. The score's great, but like,
I mean, like Citizen Kane sounds like shit, and that's considered the greatest movie ever.
Yeah, but like this is just like the dialogue's corny at times, like really corny.
I really enjoyed That Will Be the Day just throughout the movie over and over again.
That'll be
like the third time I have it, I'm like, oh my god, and then they kept doing it. I'm like, oh yeah, they've committed to it, so I actually respect it now. Like it was pretty funny.
Yeah,
but just That Would Be the Day to pretty much anything. It's just so good.
Didn't like a lot of the dialogue. Didn't like the sound effects. Like,
man, you're not gonna be able to watch like any westerns and shit.
I think
they're all like
some of the other ones are considerably better. The early '60s ones.
Sure. Well, like for the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was 10 years after this, so that's 10 years of development and stuff. And that was also shot in Italy, which is where they make
and they dubbed and keep in mind they dubbed over, no?
And that's one thing. You watch Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which is obviously an amazing movie, but the fucking ADR in that is so bad.
Yeah.
Because you've got people speaking Spanish and shit, and then they're trying to sound like English in it. Like their mouth will be shut, but English will come out because it's so.
How the fuck did they make those movies? Honestly, it's insane. But another problem I had with the movie, I think some of the characters are just kind of just so like. Though I loved Mose. What an amazing character that was. The insane, like, old guy.
Yeah.
Great character.
Yeah.
The sheriff?
No, the guy's going like, where's my rocking chair, you know? What a great character. Like, he because he's obviously Native American, right? Or like, so it brings that, like, it's interesting to see that Ethan has some sort of respect for him.
Yes.
Despite the fact that he's Native American.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't think he sees him as an equal, but
no,
it is interesting to see that there is some sort of relationship there, and not just like fuck you.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, I think
that's another thing that's really interesting is that he's super racist and shit, but he knows so much about their culture. Like he knows their language, he knows their traditions,
and that's why like he's laughing because he let Martin buy a wife. Because Martin doesn't know how to interact.
Yeah.
Whereas Ethan, like, he knows exactly all these things work.
So interesting because
he can go straight into an Indian camp.
But everyone always uses the classic, like, ignorance is the cause of racism. Well, in this case, it's not, and I think that's what makes it so much more powerful. It's not
intentional.
That he doesn't know anything about them. It's that he knows stuff about them, and he's like actively decided to hate them. So it's interesting.
Another thing I want to make note of is this felt incredibly long, for 2 hours.
It does
for 2 hours. It took forever to watch.
I think for me the start of it dragged on a lot. I didn't really enjoy that.
I think that I was interested at the start, but it does take a while to get going. Yeah. But once it gets going and you're invested in what's happening, then it's fine.
I guess maybe that's the problem. Was never invested. Didn't care for the story.
Sure. I mean, and you can't escape that.
Like, I mean, like, for a 2 hour film to drag on as much as it did for me.
Yeah.
I was relieved when I saw the last scene, but also just, very happy because
relieved it was done.
It was a very gorgeous last scene, and rightfully so, as you said, one of the greatest shots in cinema history.
Well, I don't say that's just what it is.
Yeah, I know. But like a nice way to end it, but still think, fuck, that was over. Also didn't help that, it was iffy streaming services and shit. Like, where did you watch it?
I'm not going to say. Man, they'll figure it out.
It took me like a good 20 minutes of searching to find a site that I could watch.
I rented
on the standard one.
I rented
don't work anymore.
I rented a high def copy of it on Foxtel.
Yeah.
So mine looked awesome.
Oh, mine looked like shit.
Yeah, that was actually mine was grainy as fuck.
I watched it on big TV. It looked awesome. I was like, this is great.
I'm like, am I watching the original version that was in theaters or some shit?
I'd surround
This was like
sound.
almost blurry at times.
Yeah, it was.
I'd
Well, I
surround
just
sound
looked past.
speakers
I
and
understood that, like, it, you know, it's an old movie, so. But
Yeah, I had big TV, high def surround sound speakers. I was like, this is epic.
maybe that's why your audio quality was shit, though.
I don't think it was.
No, I don't know.
I think it was just like bad
It
sound.
has been remastered.
Yeah, well, I will watch this again, and
Will you?
Yeah, well, I will endeavour to.
Gives it like a 1 out of 10. I'll rewatch it again.
But one thing I'd say,
It's like saying I'm going to rewatch the Emoji Movie or something. Like, you just never
I have rewatched that. I have to watch it with my brother. Anyway, one thing I do want to know is it's so clear to see, and like, because I've only watched a very few amount of westerns, it's so clear to see why they call Star Wars space westerns.
Like,
Dude, it's straight up. This is straight up to Western in space.
Like Star Wars is so heavily influenced.
It's a
by
Western
films
samurai
like
movie in
this.
space.
Yeah,
It's just
like
like, with
but this
Kurosawa,
is
like-
so heavy. Star Wars is so heavily influenced on films like this, and even the sound effects of the guns.
Well, George Lucas loves John Ford movies. And he loves Kurosawa movies. He
what I
loves
picked up-
Sergio Leone movies.
It's so
What I
funny
picked up on
because
this was like,
he
holy
literally
shit.
just made those movies into space movies, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen a sword fight, but if the sword was a laser, bam,
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Yeah, in space.
Yeah.
Or a ship. But no, that's one thing I did like.
Even
is,
like the classic damsel in distress thing, where it's like Leia needs to go get saved.
Yeah.
yeah. No, but
It's
one
just
thing I
so
did
classic.
like was
Yeah.
sort of seeing where the concepts and the influences of Star Wars came from was in films like this. I enjoyed
Yeah.
that. That was something I liked
Yeah,
about the searches.
definitely.
But yeah, I was just...
Regardless of what anyone may or may not think about it, it is such a important film for just film history.
Yeah.
Like, it does so much stuff. Like, if it didn't exist, films would be very different, you know?
Yeah.
You know, regardless of if you think it's a piece of shit or you think it's the...
Hey, I never said
Or if you think
piece
it's...
of
Or
shit.
if you're Martin Scorsese and you think it's like, you know, the cream of the crop, you know, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Anyway, did anyone have anything else to say?
I don't know.
Not really,
I feel that's pretty much it.
It's not my cup of tea.
No cup of tea?
No.
Yeah. That is, if differing of opinions is what makes the world go round. So there you go.
Well, Nick, would you like to kick us off with ratings?
I will give it an 8 out of 10. Solid 8. Might be a 9 on rewatch, but it's an 8.
I don't know. I'm trying to think like how much the slow start of it impacts my rating. Because I really enjoyed the second or ending part of it. I think I'll go with 7.
7?
Yeah.
I'm torn, but I'm at a 6 for now.
6.
Yeah, just...
So you know what
A
that
6 is a pretty good rating though.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
to
technically
me, like,
aside...
That's above average.
Like a
Yeah.
6 is a movie that is
well,
good.
because it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just didn't personally like it. It's sort of your view of Elaine's film.
Yeah.
It's, you know, you respect it, but you don't like it.
Sure.
I respect this, but I don't
If you
like
don't
it.
respect this as a film fan, you're a fucking...
Yeah, I respect this. I
You're
don't
a
like
I
dickhead.
respect this shit.
Douche.
Dumbass
it. And
Western.
anyway, with that,
Who the fuck likes
Who the
westerns?
fuck likes John Wayne or loser?
I just like space movies.
I like Star Wars.
I like hates Western movies, love Star Wars.
Yeah. Dude, literally. It's like...
Right, the irony there would be fucking amazing.
yeah.
So that is all. So we're going to move straight on to Marlon's pick for next
Oh
month.
yeah.
Yep. So the month of September.
That's
and
right.
That is
what I
correct.
think. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
My pick for September is a David Lynch film.
Oh,
Crazy.
Which one? Is it? One that nobody's seen?
Yeah, one that nobody's seen. Recommended to me by my
okay.
father.
Okay.
Wild at Heart.
Oh, so that's like the
1990.
Okay.
Okay.
That's going to be interesting because that is.
Good old D. Lynch.
So I thought, you know,
Oh.
we've all liked works of his before.
True.
None of us have seen it.
True.
I've wanted to see it for a long time. What better time than to recommend it on FAPS?
Faps. That's right. Well, that's great. And we've got...
Doesn't fucking what's his name? Fuck is the critic Roger
Ebert.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ebert hate this movie.
he literally hated every Lynch movie except Mulholland Drive.
But like, doesn't he specifically hate this one a lot?
No, he hates...
He likes the Straight Story too, no?
He hates Blue Velvet the most.
Oh yeah.
he thought Blue Velvet was like the biggest piece of crap that anyone's ever made.
It's so retarded.
He just hated it so much, like it was crazy. Well, I mean, that's great. Yep. It's going to be an interesting talk, and we've got some great films coming up next month.
Yeah.
We're watching Sound of Freedom, the controversial American movie, has come to Australia, so we're going to watch that and talk about that. And the new, I think it's A24, Past Lives.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
Is
A24.
it Korean?
South Korean.
Yep.
And it is, I'm pretty sure it's A24.
Okay.
And that's
I've heard
supposed to
very
be-
good things about Past Lives.
Very good things, so I'm really keen for that. And yeah, Wild at Hearts, it's going to be a
Nicolas
smacker.
Cage special.
Yes.
It's going to be a smacker of an episode next month. So thank you all for watching.
Yeah. Thank you once again to Elaine for sponsoring this episode of the podcast.
That's right. Like, subscribe, TikTok, Instagram,
Yep.
Letterboxd.
Elaine's
Give us money.
film will be linked in the description.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know.
That's about it, really.
Thanks again. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone.